Hello there gang, your old chum Devere here with another Past Blast. We'll be taking a quick look at 2002's Mafia 1, published by T2K and written by Illusion Softworks, a Czechoslovakian developer I do believe. Now option wise, there's a little launcher outside the game to set things like your screen resolution, full screen and all that. We also have some more options here. Controls, fully rewindable, player, car, and you can actually use your controller with this one, as well as there's your settings for things such as your mouse sensitivity and other little in-game options. Audio and video settings, we've got everything set to highest. Because, well, this game from 2002, you should be able to run this on pretty much a Commodore 64 these days. So content wise, that's just, you can watch the introduction separately if you want to. There's a little tutorial, because back then games had tutorials separate of the main game, which was a positive thing. Free ride, you just drive around the city, probably self-explanatory. And the car cyclopedia. The game is of course set in the 1930s in America, and you're obviously, as you can guess from the title, become a Mafia member. So you can have a look at some of the different cars that are in the game. I don't know how close these are modelled on realistic cars of the time, but I mean they look the part. I mean the detail on them's not terrible for the age. And if you like that kind of thing, it's there. So what I'll do is I'll load game, just so as we can avoid the this bit's all a little bit well, it's like an introductory level, it's a bit slow going. So let's start from here. Load times are fast. Okay. Oh, I can't. There we go. So, as you can imagine, these cars are not exactly life, and certainly not speedy. You've got a fair bit going on here, of course. Top left there's your indicator telling you where you've got to go, your compass. And you've got a little radar to show you what other cars are around. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press F5 to set the speed limiter on. When you're driving around, if you have the police, there's police patrolling around, and if you're speeding or jumping lights, they'll do you for it. So it's just easier to hit F5, which puts your speed limiter on. I mean, because of the speed these cars go at, they're not that much faster if you don't have it on. So in all honesty, to save yourself to getting fined, there's no real money in game. It's just an inconvenience more than anything else. So this is a open world style game of sorts. This was of course, say, released in 2002, and the year before, 2001, of course, had seen the release of Grand Theft Auto 3, which took the series into the 3D world from its original top-down 2D origins. So this is, I would definitely say, obviously inspired by the Grand Theft Auto 3's success. Can't help but think so, but it also lacks a lot of the more sort of what you'd expect from an open world game these days. You're pretty much basically doing missions, in-game missions only. There's no side missions, side quests or anything like that. There's no little side mini games. This is purely story driven. I mean, it's a very good story. It's a very, very good story in all honesty. It's another one of those really great must-play single-player games if you like story-driven games. But it doesn't have any extra content that you would expect from a modern, especially a modern Grand Theft Auto. Oops. Yeah, even the horns. Oh, I hate this bit. I always get lost here. I think I want to go back this way. There's a city map. Right, let's stop and see where we are. Alright, if we go this way. Back round behind that bridge. It's quite a big map, in fairness. But just there's very little to do in it, is the unfortunate thing. Compared to the modern sort of things you get. No, I've gone the wrong way again. Right, going that way, so I'm going to go down there. Try and loop around onto that bridge. It's definitely a big city. They've put a lot of effort into it. Good variety of traffic, a lot of traffic. Oh, come on, keep moving. Pedestrians. As you'll see in the cutscenes, the facial technology especially is pretty good for this age. That's the other problem with the game, but just by the time you do get to know the city and the layout, the game's pretty much over. I mean, it's a good length campaign in it, but it's because it's so just guided by the story. Yeah, just by the time you really start sort of knowing where you're going, the game will be pretty much coming to an end because of how big it is. Lots of little back alleyways and such like to take. You have a look left and look right, but it's pretty useless. As I did mention, you can also use your Xbox controller with it, but because of the speed these cars are going at, it's not that important in all honesty. It doesn't make that massive a difference to the handling. But it's nice that you can use the two at the same time. You can have your keyboard and for walking around and shooting for exposition, and just use your controller for driving around if you like. I do that with Grand Theft Auto games usually. But it is a bit content light in the way of what he was doing, stood in the middle of the road, and what we expect compared to modern open world games. There's a lot of driving just between mission points, but there isn't anything outside of that. Oh, hello, we're here. Didn't hear a word he said there. Come on, get out. There, you're going down. These are not the cars we were supposed to destroy. I might have made a bit of a mistake here. Yeah, this isn't going well. I think Luckily, auto saves after everything, so you can just reload and have another go. Alright, because I'm on my own. Okie dokie. So you can see some graphical imperfections there with the reflections in the car. By today's standards, looks like distorted textures. Somewhere in here, obviously. How do I get in here? Okay, we're missing something. Some of these missions can be quite tough and challenging in places. It does show its old school gaming roots there. Ah, right, is that, no. Oh, it's right click. See, yeah, that's the thing. The right click is the action button, not E or F like we're used to in modern games. Right, so let's get behind him. And wind it up. Right, now we can smash things up. Good old classic smash 'em up mission. Why not wind it up again? Not it makes a difference, it seems, with cars. That's only for knocking people out from behind. So you've got melee, you've got guns, and oh, you've done enough damage. Okie dokie. No such thing as enough damage, man. I mean, by today's standards, these damage models are a bit weak as well, aren't they? You would expect a lot more smashed up parts, crumpled zones, and so forth and so on. Definitely, as far as it goes, most of the parts of the controls are actually pretty smooth, and it's a little bit flighty, a bit sensitive. You know, if this was a modern game, you just smash those headlights off and... Right, return to San Aires. Easy enough. So, I mean, that was a long drive. And right click to get in the car. You can also steal cars, of course. It's quite interesting until you have to pick the locks first. And then you can... And then after that you can get into the car quickly anytime you want. There's no mini game or anything like that you'd get today. It's just literally get up close and unlock it. But still, they did try to think of a lot of things with the game. I mean, you can drive the cars in manual if you want to have gear control and clutch. But I just leave it on auto, and I forgot to put my speed limiter on again. You will soon get bored of just being stopped all the time by the police for the fine, because it really doesn't make any actual proper difference. You will notice I don't have any actual direct money, not like Grand Theft Auto where you complete the little side missions and mini games to get cash to buy weapons and such. And there's none of that kind of in-depth stuff here. I mean, the amount of cars, they don't look terrible. I mean, the overall graphics definitely show their age. But it's not the worst thing. It supports, it's fine on modern resolutions. It's running fine on Windows 10. It does crash when I exit the game for some strange reason, but that's the only problem I've had. So if you really like a decent, well, let's say decent and excellent story, with strong characters, great voice work, it is showing its age in certainly some of the graphic areas. It's also, as mentioned, not really what we'd consider an open world game today because of the limited content. So it is sort of, in some ways, it's really a linear game with driving in between the missions. It's certainly not what we would consider open world. You can also get the train and... Oh, I've come the wrong way again, haven't I? Right, what's the best way? Up that, back down behind us. Whoops. I mean, they do a fairly good job of making these cars feel like they're convincing sort of 1930s. They certainly, you see it all bouncing around, they corner like crap. Oh, that's right, there's a tunnel down here somewhere, that was it. It's over here somewhere. But yeah, it's certainly not a bad game. Not at all. Most of the controls make sense, apart from that action button being on the right click of your mouse. And of course, as you play through, you'll get some weapons and there'll be gunplay later on. But this is just sort of starting. It ramps up the... Oh yeah, this is just, there's a ship going underneath it. There's something down in the middle, a bit like Tower Bridge in London. big map. So it's just such a great pity there's not a lot to do in it. Now you could go sightseeing in the free tour, but outside of that it is purely from mission to mission, which, as you can imagine, means you pretty much get thrown from one mission to the next to the next. So it was I would say it was definitely rushed out to sort of capitalise on the success of Grand Theft Auto, I'm gonna guess. It's better story-wise than Grand Theft Auto, in all honesty. Or at least I think so, of course. Others out there will probably disagree. It could have definitely, if I give it a bit more time and had a little bit more stuff to do, it would definitely. Oh, hang on, I think it's that. Oh, that's what I'm going. Yeah, that's the backyard. Right, what's this? We're done, aren't we? Oh, what's the return to the area? Oh, we've just got to go outside to the front of the cafe or the bar or whatever it is. Oh yeah, because if you're running around with a weapon here, the police will pull you for it. Out the way. That should be close enough, I reckon. You're going to carry a set amount of weapons.
So we're back, boss.
Wonderful. Take a seat. It all went well?
Sure, boss, he's a natural. Before they could say cannolis, they were wheelers. And before they could recover, we were gone. Morello was probably pretty pissed right now.
Really? I'm glad to hear it.
He's one tough customer.
In that case, welcome to the family, Tommy. You've passed the first
It's
test.
an honor, sir.
And now we've got a new member.
I like to take him into the outfit, boss. You can see he ain't scared, and he's done real good.
You didn't disappoint me, Tommy. Now, let's drink.
Thanks.
Today we're gonna visit a few places to collect some protection money. 2 restaurants and a motel outside of town. Bill at the motel was late last time because he had a few problems. So today, he'll pay a little more.
You may have heard about how criminals can prey on businesses using various threats. That certainly isn't the case with us. People who pay us receive services, which the police certainly can't provide them with. Last month, for example, Sam and Paulie here solved a serious problem with violence in a delightful restaurant. The owner is now satisfied that nothing of that sort will happen there again.
You'll do the driving. Paulie and Sam will do the collecting. It'll be routine. Tell Ralph to give you a car, and you can go.
Okay, boss.
Well, you and I'll have a drink. What do you say, Frank?
I mean, for 2002, yeah, the bodies and the animations are very stiff, but the facial work is pretty much a cut above the average. That's a nice little touch. When you are in an enclosed space, it automatically switches your character through, make it into a sort of semi-first person. So I think we'll probably conclude our dealings here, gang. Which way we want to go? Oh, that way. Do we have to go see again? And there's Ralph.
Hey, Ralphie. Me and the boys have got a job to do, and I need some wheels.
And, hey, Tommy, I got this here, baby. It has about 40 horsepower and goes almost 60 miles an hour.
Can't remember where to find Vincenzo.
Ain't nothing swanky, but it's a good enough drive. You get into it easy. You just take this little baby and stick it in here. Pry it a little, and when it clicks, you got it. It's a piece of cake.
Thanks, Ralphie.
So now I can steal a different type of car. Where was Vincenzo? That's Paulie's. It doesn't matter, we're going to conclude our dealings here. But yes, if you're in the market for a really good single player story driven game, this is definitely one worth checking out. It does have a very good story. Combat's a little bit clumpy by today's standards, but yeah, the controls are fairly... I did do a little bit of... have to reassign a few buttons, but they mostly make sense. Graphics aren't terrible, and on the upside, at least the performance is good. You can max it all out, and you haven't got to worry about that. But it's just a bit of a wasted opportunity. They didn't make a little bit more use of that open world. As you saw with the size of the map, it's a big area. I mean, this mission here is going to take quite a while to do. I can guarantee you. With all the driving that's in it, it's just a shame we didn't make a few less police wandering around so that you could... Oh, it won't let me walk out there to look around. Because that is the one thing, you'll understand it if you play it, and just constantly sirens and getting pulled over. There's 3 wanted levels basically. You've got a minor infraction, so you run a red light and you just have to pay a fine. Then you've committed a crime and they're going to arrest you. And then if it's up above that, same as the Grand Theft Auto with the 5-star rating, they'll shoot to kill basically. So if you go around running people over, then they'll shoot to kill. But it's forgiving, it saves at every mission, and you know, you can retry it off easy enough. It's not going to ruin or end the game. Some of the textures of course do look blurry by today's standards, but it's cheap as well. It's not an expensive game, which just makes it well worth the time and download. Very good campaign with some great characters, stunning voice acting, decentish soundtrack when there is some, and a good selection of ye olde cars that actually do handle like ye olde cars. So anyway, gang, we'll conclude our dealings there. This is Mafia 1, the original. Very, very much worth the investment if you like single player story driven games. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you found it useful and entertaining in some way. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to let me know you're alive. And I shall see you all next time. Bye now.